Welcome to Who's Watching?
Okay, so my next one is The Three Doctors. This is what, top three now?
It's official that Three Doctors is the third best story.
Yeah.
I've got it there as well. There you are. Everything else is opinion based, as we said before, but we did say if we agree on something, it's a fact.
It's fact. So, Three Doctors.
It's a shame William Hartnell wasn't in it more, but it's entirely understandable.
Because he was ill, wasn't he?
To be honest,
I don't think this was filmed long before he passed away.
No, it wasn't. It was the last thing he did, I think, ever, as sort of actor-wise. But I will admit, I do think the story probably helped, is improved by his sort of distancing. It was one of my favourite things about the Five Doctors as well. I just love seeing Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee's Doctors
they're
together.
fantastic
because
together, aren't
they hate each other.
And the Dandy and the Clown.
Their doctors hate each other.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
They
are good. I don't think you've seen The Web of Fear or The Invasion, have you?
I might have seen The Invasion.
Okay.
But I've never seen Web of Fear.
Yes. It's nice to see the Second Doctor back with the Brigadier and unit.
Yeah.
That's quite a nice thing. And I love the fact that the Brigadier, to begin with, thinks the Doctor's regenerated again. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, you've done it again! You've done it again, Doctor! And he's like, no, this is me before I've done it. That's quite good. Poor old Sergeant Benton just can't get his head around it at all. I love Sergeant Benton.
I love the swapping of pronouns.
Yep.
They do it very well in that one.
Yep, and there's the funny line where Joe says a line from the Beatles, and then he's like, oh, who said that? Oh, it's the Beatles. Oh, really? How does it go? And he's got his little flute ready, and he's about to play it, and John Pertwee snatches it out of his hand. I like the Three Doctors. I love Omega. I think Omega's a very good villain. He does sort of pantomime, rant and shout a little bit.
But it's time.
I think so, and I think it's understandable as well. The time was just left him in this thing. Of course, he's going to be a little bit peeved by that.
At that time, the technology wouldn't have been there, and they didn't have the budget to dub his lines later. Yeah. So part of it is just the fact he's got to shout his way out of that massive helmet. Yeah,
but again, costume-wise, I quite like it. I think it holds up. It's getting the Blu-ray treatment. It's one of the stories in this next Blu-ray season, which I've pre-ordered and will turn out next month.
Right, I'll steal that.
And I think what really holds up is the bit where he takes his helmet off, and there's nothing there.
That was his
all he's held together with is his consciousness.
I don't have anything bad to say about
I don't really have anything bad to say about the Three Doctors, except maybe the gel guards. They're a little bit dodgy. They're obviously someone stood in a suit, someone's dumped a costume over them. They sort of waddle like penguins a little bit. But I think it adds to its charm a little bit. It's entertaining. It's quite a fun-looking costume as well. It's not a... But yeah, no, I like the Three Doctors. I don't really have anything nasty to say about it. I think that'd be quite funny, yeah. Well, you never know. Yeah, cosplay as gel guards, please. Thank you. Yeah. But no, I do like the Three Doctors. I've always liked the Three Doctors.
We're thinking of going to the October Comic-Con, so there's a chance, you definitely end up in a video. We'll interview you.
Oh dear. So, what's your next?
Yeah, it's yours.
Oh, is it my go?
We agreed on that one.
Okay, right. So my number 2 is the Five Doctors.
Alright.
I think it was one of the earlier ones that I watched. It wasn't the first story I'd ever watched, but it was one of the early ones.
It was the first Peter Davison story I watched.
Okay, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Bit of trivia.
And I quite liked it. It was a bit like a movie, because it's about 70 minutes, isn't it? It's a lot longer than whatever. Interesting choice of companions they picked up and used.
I think it was more based on who was available.
I think so, yeah.
Else.
I think my main criticism with it is the premise of it. They're on the death zone and they've got monsters here, there and everywhere, which would have been interesting, but it just sort of fumbles a little bit.
It doesn't quite feel like
it
says it is.
Yeah. It kind of, you don't get the threat from it because you always know, right, the Doctor and the companion are going to be fine. There's not really, I mean, the bit where Third Doctor and Sarah escape from the Cybermen, or the bit where the Raston robot comes out and just obliterates them. Fantastic sequence, but there's not really any danger there. They're going to get out of it. I don't mind Richard Hurndall as the First Doctor. He's like David Bradley. He gets the character. The character's there.
Yeah.
He just doesn't look anything like
his
it.
performance.
Whereas I think David Bradley looks a little bit like William Hartnell.
It's just painfully obvious it's not.
Yeah, but I think he does a good job. I think they use him enough that he's not in it that much, but he's in it enough to say that it's 4 Doctors.
Yes. 4, not 5. 4.
The bits that Tom Baker are in are taken from the Lost episode Sharda, the Lost story Sharda, that got filmed on location, and then the studio was locked because they were all striking about some clock on some children's programme somewhere. And so they couldn't film the rest of it, but they've got the location stuff. So that's quite nice. That would have been the first time anybody would have seen anything from Sharda. So he is in it, but he's not in it enough to warrant calling it the 5 Doctors.
When he said he wouldn't do it, just don't bring
yeah.
it back.
And that's understandable, because he had done it for 7-8 years.
He hadn't been out of the TARDIS for that long either. But it's an easy way to excuse him not being there as well. They're in a war zone, but in his 4th incarnation he was just too irascible, and then boom!
Yeah. But I think the original concept for the 5 Doctors is more interesting than this one. Is that the First Doctor was going to be an android. That's why he doesn't look like William Hartnell. And he's trying to kill the other Doctors or something. I don't quite know, but that sounded more interesting than what we actually got. But then again, there's some interesting... I mean, John Pertwee and Patrick Troughton are brilliant together.
A treasure.
They're bantering off of each other and having a proper go at each other. And Tegan and Susan, there's some quite interesting companion things. The first companion with the latest companion, and there's the famous story of the director does not understand in the slightest why they got Janet Fielding, the actress for Tegan, to wear a miniskirt in the middle of Wales somewhere, and they're running around the hills, and she was complaining that she was absolutely freezing cold, and he doesn't understand why they had to stick her in a miniskirt in the middle of Wales. But then there's that awful bit where...
She should, got nothing to complain about in comparison, because Karen Gillan did it for her entire...
Oh, I was going to say, she did it for the whole first season, didn't she?
Not just the first season, that was her outfit.
Oh, okay, so the only Aim Pond, the only miniskirt I remember is the one from the Silurian one.
No, pretty much.
Where
I think pretty much
there might have been some dodgy shots if they weren't careful.
Because there were some people complaining about, all the misogyny behind, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And then Karen Gillan was like, I picked it.
Yeah.
They didn't just in Modern Who. They didn't just shove you in a costume.
Yeah, you go.
They talked to you about it. She was like, no. She was like, I don't wear mini skirts like that.
Yeah.
But Amy Pond is the sort of person who would. Yeah. Which I think is a fair enough point.
But no, I like the 5 Doctors. But there's the terrible bit where Susan trips over a rock, and it's like, really. Could you not see that stone there?
It's such a horror movie cliche, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
And you expect it in a horror movie.
Yeah.
It seemed a bit out of place there.
Yeah. But on the whole, no, I do like the 5 Doctors. There are 1 or 2 things that let it down, sort of here and there. But as fan service, as, for the 80s, I think it's alright. I think it holds up. I think it's alright.
That was your second one.
That was my second one.
So my second is, I don't even need to look at the list, I know it, it's the 50th anniversary.
Okay, yep.
I love David Tennant. It was lovely to see him back in the TARDIS. Just for that, it had to be in my top 3.
I've forgotten to even mention David Tennant in mine.
Yeah, it was just so nice seeing David Tennant back.
Yep.
I like Matt Smith's Doctor. I think they worked quite well together. They
did work quite well together, yeah.
They had enough sort of banter at each other, moments. One of the most famous moments just came from a bit of improv because of actual meeting, because the first time they were on set together was the bit with the bit where all 3 of them meet in the woods, and they got their sonic screwdrivers out, and David Tennant's like, he's as bigger than mine! Which is where the whole
that is quite a funny scene.
Yeah. There is a lot of fan service in it. sand shoes and grandpa. That's quite funny.
Yeah.
I do like John Hurt's performance, but it shouldn't have been John Hurt. It should have been Paul McGann. The second he wasn't available, Chris Eccleston said he wouldn't do it. It should have been Paul McGann, and if he wasn't available, Colin Baker, because of the World Big Finish.
Yeah, it should have been
the Sixth
older.
Doctor can be older.
Yeah.
Thank you to Big Finish. So
Yes.
Colin Baker could still come back at any point,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't seem odd.
Yeah.
I'm entirely happy for his Doctor
Yeah.
to be older, so that would have been nice.
Yeah.
And I think what epitomises classic Who more than that rainbow coat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that.
I think that would
either
have
of
been
them
good
would have
in
great.
modern seeing that
How
rainbow
much-
coat
How much
in
better?
high definition.
Not just the rainbow coat in high definition. Imagine
Yeah.
Colin Baker's Doctor
Yeah.
dressed in that, very
Yeah.
seriously taking the piss out of David Tennant for his shoes.
He'd have done it. Yeah,
He'd have done it.
The
He'd have
Sixth
done-
Doctor would have done that.
It'd
Yeah.
have been fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
And the bow tie, taking
Yeah.
the piss out of both
Yeah.
of them, dressed as a rainbow.
Yeah, as they're moaning at him for being dressed as a rainbow, so
Yeah.
he'd turn around and pick irritating things in their costume. Yeah, yeah,
I'll have you know there are some planets in the solar system where this outfit is the height of fashion.
yeah. But
Yeah, I think it would have been better with
Yeah.
either of those Doctors.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of things I like about it. It was very fan service, you
Yeah.
see, which you've got to be careful with making something only fan service.
Yeah.
But for a 50th anniversary, I thought it was alright. The Time Lord stuff, I do think
that's where it sort
I
of
do think
falls for me.
it couldn't have picked a story, so when
Yeah.
it tried to do both,
Yeah,
which means it kind of failed as either. But I do get what they were trying to do, and I like the Zygon thing more now that it's had its conclusion in the Capaldi stories.
yeah. I think it works if you watch them one
Yeah.
after the other. I think it works a lot better.
'cause my main thought at the end, I finished watching the 50th anniversary, and I was like, so did they deal with the Zygons? Did they not?
Yeah, because you don't
We're going to
find
get an
out.
answer for that?
Yeah.
We don't find out for another
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
There's a whole series in between finding out. But
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I like it. It's good. And David Tennant's always a treasure. I'd love to see him come back for more adventures.
Yep. Maybe the 60th.
Yeah. And in case you've not been paying attention, both of us have
One
missed
more
out.
left. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The Two Doctors! Yeah!
Yay! I really love the
The
Two
magic
Doctors.
number. And you
Yeah.
come to multi-doctors, I think it's rubbing it in Jordan's face. When I met Colin Baker, he agreed with me. I talked to him about it, and I said that
Annoyed.
I said that possibly my favourite classic Who story is The Two Doctors.
Yeah,
And he said
I think
was
it's
his,
up there for
He
me,
said it
I
was his
think it's up
favourite
there.
one he filmed.
Yeah.
Because talking
Yeah.
about Sharon, and I said it's the best. I said it's easily the best multi-doctor story. And he said yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because 2 is the magic number
Yeah.
of doctors. Any more than that, and it just becomes too.
It gets a little bit confusing after a while,
Yeah,
any more than
exactly.
two, doesn't it? Yeah.
But no, it is. It's brilliant. I
isn't
love
it?
the Two
It's
Doctors.
really good.
I literally have nothing bad to say about the Two Doctors.
No, I don't think I have.
love it.
I
I love
think-
the bit where he chloroforms that dude to death.
Yeah, I do as well, and people complain about that and use that as an excuse for why the Sixth Doctor was so violent and so evil.
Evil?
Have you
No.
not watched that story about
No.
what that guy was doing?
Evil? No.
No.
Violent? Yes. And it's one of the
Yeah.
things I like about him. I'm not
And
gonna
it's
lie.
but had they not seen what that Androgun guy had been doing beforehand?
He'd
He
literally
tries to
been
kill
trying to
Perry
eat
and Jamie.
Perry. Not just kill. He's trying to
Eat
eat
her, yeah.
Perry for the entire
He's-
story.
He's killed half the blooming guest characters in it.
Yeah.
You know,
And
I think chloroforming him to death was probably the nicest thing the Doctor could have possibly done to him.
I think Patrick Troughton just works well with any Doctor going from
I
this
think so,
episode.
yeah,
'cause
yeah.
They have a lovely dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah.
And there's what's known as the Troughton rule, which a lot of Doctors have followed, which is about how long you should spend in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Which not up to him, unfortunately, but it was sort of what Colin Baker was planning on doing
Yeah,
anyway. He was only
like
planning on
3
doing
years.
another
Yeah.
1 or
Yeah.
2 series and then
Yeah.
hopping off.
Yeah,
But
because that's what Peter Davison did as well.
Yeah.
There's a story of him meeting Patrick Troughton in the car park at the BBC, and Patrick Troughton said, "Yeah, do 3 years and then leave."
yeah, three
Yeah.
and go was
Yeah.
Troughton's rule. And
Yeah.
but he was always willing to come back and do more, which I think is really nice.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I mean, to be fair, most Doctors are always willing to come back and
Yeah.
do more things, and also just Colin Baker is fantastic.
Yep. I think I think the reason why some people criticise the two Doctors so much is, as well as the killing.
I don't realise people did apart from the killing.
See, a lot of people will moan about the fact that Patrick Troughton and Jamie are older.
Of course they're older.
Of course they're going to be older,
but I don't think they're that
there's a
much older,
theory that between the end of the War Games and Spearhead from Space, that isn't when Patrick Troughton leaves.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
I
don't like it because
I don't like it because they don't. It's not really explored in anything.
Also, at the end of War Games, you see him starting to regenerate.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it's black and white. The old one, so Jamie could very well have reached that point in the TARDIS.
Yeah.
You know.
But no, I do like them, and I like Jamie. I mean, Fraser Hines as Jamie is one of those actors. He works brilliantly with any companion, with any other companion. Because he had Ben and Polly for his first sort of few episodes, then they left. Then he had Victoria, who I think they mentioned at the beginning of the Two Doctors.
Yeah, they name drop to explain why she's not, essentially.
And then he met Zoe, they had Zoe. So he had like 4 different characters that he worked brilliantly with. And then he comes back in this
one. He was my mum's favourite companion in Doctor Who, and she was a wee lass.
Yeah. And
as he would undoubtedly say.
Yeah, I think Dad probably grew up watching him actually as in the TARDIS,
showing our parents' age.
Yeah. And he works really well with Perry, and he works really well with Colin Baker.
Yeah.
I'd have quite happily seen Perry go off with Patrick Troughton, Jamie stay with Colin Baker, or they all stay together and go off and have more stories.
They juggle it very well. It's definitely a Colin Baker story, which it should have been.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't.
It was in his era.
It was in his era, but it's definitely also it's not in the same way that the Light at the End was a Tom Baker story. There's a good amount of Patrick Troughton, but it doesn't take away from Colin at all. And it was his tenure. It wasn't. I don't think it was a special sort of anniversary or anything like that. Was
no,
it?
I don't think so. I think they just did it.
Just
because they could. But it was originally going to be set in New Orleans. The Doctor was going to try and take Perry back.
Honestly, I like it.
America.
I like the setting.
Well, this is the thing. They couldn't afford, on a BBC budget, to go to New Orleans. But because the producer, John Nathan Turner, wanted a holiday, and the couple of seasons before, I mean, they'd done Paris, then they did Amsterdam, and I think they'd done somewhere else.
John Nathan Turner did a few episodes in places just because he wanted a holiday.
Lanzarote, the second to last, the penultimate Pete Davidson one. But because they couldn't afford New Orleans, they went, well, we can't afford New Orleans, but we can afford Seville in Spain, we can go there.
It's like, it looks
fine, yeah.
It looks lovely.
I think it looks really nice. And I quite like the sight of like Sontarans walking around the Spanish villa and sort of things like that. It kind of brings to mind, like World War II, you see German soldiers walking around French things like that. They don't fit that setting. So it makes the imagery look so much more interesting because they don't fit in with that setting.
You wouldn't have people collecting butterflies in New Orleans.
No.
So you wouldn't have the Doctor chloroforming a guy to death.
No, and you wouldn't have the brilliant character of Oscar.
No.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's another one that people kick off about when he gets the shock eye stabs him. But as well, it's, that was hammering home just how evil Shockeye was, I think.
You've got to let people know quite how bad he is before you have your hero, kill him.
There's the fantastic bit where Patrick Troughton and Shockeye are in the... Because Patrick Troughton gets turned into an androgam a little bit. That's the whole experiment, isn't it?
I love the bit where...
It's the bit where they're eating in the restaurant.
And... Perry and the Sixth Doctor are rushing to his rescue, and they see a cat, and because the androgam thing is starting to change him, it's like, ooh, yes, delicious.
That's funny. Yeah, because it's starting to change all the rest of them, isn't it? Yeah. And the bit where they're in the restaurant and they're just eating so much food. They've run up such a bill.
Colin Baker has such a just the way he talks is fantastic, and I just love the way he switches the pronouns.
Yeah.
No one's done it better.
No.
He's so good at it, and just watching Perry get so confused.
Yeah. I think she makes the lines and she's like, stop switching personal pronouns.
If he gets myself killed, I will never forgive himself.
Yeah. It's the bit when they go to rescue him and they go to rescue him and he's in the wheelchair. And they say something funny, but Patrick Troughton's basically already rescued himself. He's sort of where he wants to be. All he's got to sort of do is wheel himself away. And they've come to rescue him, but he's already done it. And that's quite a funny moment.
And he has a little argument with himself, which is I love it when the Doctors do that.
Yeah. They don't sort of get along. None of the incarnations get along, really.
Logically, if you think of the Doctor as a character, they shouldn't, because he's not too keen on himself. He knows his flaws and what he seeks to stop it elsewhere. A lot of times he becomes the thing he strives to not be the most.
But I think Two Doctors is brilliant. I think it really works.
If you haven't watched it, you need to. It's one of those ones as well where you don't need context going in. Just buy the DVD, shove it in, give it a watch. Highest recommendation. At the end of this, I'd just like to sort of remind people, if you haven't seen our channel trailer, which is a little bit of a hot mess. Everything before we got edited is a bit of a hot mess. Everything since is a little bit less of a hot mess. Good job. We said if we reach 100 subscribers, or any video gets 1,000, was it views or likes? I think it's views. Yeah, if any of our videos gets 1,000 views, or we get 100 subscribers, we will watch and react to Time and the Rani, which is the worst Doctor Who episode ever.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that'd be funny. So please share, like, subscribe.
Yep.
All that jazz.
All the usual social media things.
Yep. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. That was our multi-Doctor rankings.
Please tell us down below if you agree with us, disagree with us, your rankings.
Do your own lists.
And also, we did an honourable mention for the 5-ish Doctors, but also Time Crash.
Yep. And Dimensions in Time. Fantastic. It's not. It's garbage, but fantastic.
What I do like, a bit of trivia for you. You may, if you have watched it, you may notice that Sylvester McCoy's got all of the fancy sciencey bits.
Yeah.
He's got all the jargon.
Yeah.
And the reason he got that was because he'd gone out. I think all of them had gone out the night before.
I think so. Yeah.
And he'd got so hammered, he turned up late because he was hungover. So Peter Davison was like, "Oh, actually, if you just want to give all of this stuff to..." He loves it. Sylvester loves saying all this stuff. So if you give it to him, that'd be great. And then we turned up, they were just like...
But there are honourable mentions.
Yep.
Yeah. So there you go.
Thank you. Please like and subscribe.
Bye.